what is it? And he told me it was the Power of Women for Variety magazine.
Blake Shelton's 12 red flags, Miranda's warning letter. It was a Tuesday morning in April 2021, just 3 days before Blake Shelton was set to marry Gwen Stefani on his sprawling Oklahoma ranch, when a curious envelope appeared in the mailbox. There was no stamp, no return address, just a Nashville postmark and a wax seal that looked far too official for casual correspondence. The ranch manager, Juan, found it wedged between a tractor catalog and a water bill and immediately called Blake, who was in Los Angeles filming The Voice. Blake's first message to Gwen wasn't a sweet note of love, it was a warning. Don't open any mail today. Seriously, just don't. Gwen, of course, waited exactly
standing up there with my acoustic guitar in front of the microphone.
47 minutes before curiosity got the better of her. At 2:17 p.m., she tore the envelope open and discovered not just a letter, but a blueprint for heartbreak she hadn't anticipated. The letter was stark, devoid of pleasantries, starting not with Dear Gwen, but with 12 bullet points typed in all caps on what looked like an old-fashioned typewriter. Things Blake does when he's about to leave. At the bottom, in scribbled blue ink, 3 words: "You deserve better." The list was precise and brutal, a surgical catalog of behaviors that mirrored patterns Gwen had noticed over the past year. The whiskey left in coffee mugs during morning interviews, the late-night Googling of exes' names, and even the Montana ranch Blake bought without telling her until the papers were signed. But the 10th item shook Gwen to her core. He'll create a secret contact in his
Sleepovers we've had at each other's houses.
phone, usually a woman's initial. Not a mistress, but someone who knows where all the bodies are buried. Memories flooded back. Gwen recalled the mysterious M that had popped up on Blake's screen during their anniversary dinner in February. He had laughed it off, insisting it was just his manager, but he had angled his phone away. That night, despite a promise to herself, Gwen scrolled through his contacts and found Mandy Moore. Not the actress, but a consultant from Blake's God's Country video shoot in Las Vegas, 2019. The postscript on the letter was a direct instruction. Check the MGM grand charges from March 17th. Gwen dug through Blake's buried email account, discovering a $3,200 charge.
We don't have time because of The Voice, so I don't have time to tour like I used to.
On his American Express, categorized as a work expense with no receipt. A call to the hotel confirmed Mandy's presence, but not for a video consultation as Blake had listed. She had been scouting locations for a Hallmark movie. His silence over the phone was deafening, neither denial nor confession, just the quiet that carried the weight of unspoken truths. Gwen spent the night immersed in the letter, highlighting 3 items that seemed to define a hidden architecture of Blake's behavior. Hiding whiskey in coffee mugs, buying property without consulting partners, and creating secret contacts. By dawn, she called the wedding planner, her voice trembling, and asked to postpone the wedding. The planner broke down in tears. Vendors were canceled. For 24 hours, the most high-profile celebrity wedding of 2021 was officially off. Blake, however, did not argue. He waited. His only message was a simple text.
I'm doing my normal, what I thought was rocking.
I'm in the main house when you're ready. Negotiations unfolded quietly over coffee, whispering confessions rather than shouting accusations. Blake admitted to the existence of patterns, not specifics, and acknowledged that Miranda had seen things he wasn't proud of, though filtered through her own anger. When Gwen asked about the Vegas charge, he confirmed it. And when asked about Mandy Moore, he laughed uneasily, insisting he barely remembered her name. By mid-afternoon, after promises of greater transparency, the wedding was back on, but the energy had shifted. It was no longer a fairy tale, it was a treaty. Gwen's investigation didn't end with the vows. After the cameras left, she hired a forensic accountant to trace patterns in Blake's spending, looking for consistency, anomalies, and clues about his behavior. The results were telling.
And I thought, wow, that'll be easy. I can just tell some stories.
Over 4 years, nearly $40,000 had been spent on video consults, location scouting, and creative retreats, all involving women in professional contexts and all perfectly explainable on the surface. Yet the timing revealed an undeniable pattern. Expenses coincided almost exactly with major career milestones of Miranda Lambert. His phone, too, was a map of potential departures. Beyond the letter M for Mandy Moore, there existed an alphabet. A for the ACM production assistant, K for the keyboardist on tour, R for the real estate agent who had facilitated property deals without full disclosure. None of these were romantic relationships, but each represented a hidden contingency, a backup network designed for avoidance and escape.
I didn't make the deal. That's what we did.
Gwen realized the silent, invisible pattern had been there all along. It wasn't about betrayal in the traditional sense. It was about behavioral architecture. A man carefully engineering ways to distance himself from accountability while maintaining the appearance of charm and loyalty. While Gwen navigated this storm, Miranda Lambert watched from afar. For 3 years, she had been tracking these patterns and sending anonymous letters to women who had intersected with Blake's orbit, offering subtle warnings. Public perception had cast her as bitter or obsessive, but Miranda's intent had always been protective, not punitive. When Gwen gave a cryptic Vogue interview about property purchases, Miranda's friend shared her commentary online, igniting a generational debate. Older women sided with Miranda, having lived through similar patterns and recognizing the signals. Younger audiences viewed it as meddling, insisting people should let others live their love stories. Social media erupted, and the conversation expanded beyond celebrity gossip into broader questions about accountability, truth-telling, and the societal dismissal of women's perceptions as drama or obsession. In October 2024, Gwen decided to take a public step that defied expectations. She reached out to Miranda with a text, "I'm presenting. Wear something gold. Let's give them something to talk about." Miranda's single-word reply, "Finally," hinted at anticipation and resolution. That night at the CMAs, in frigid weather that cut through silk gowns, Gwen arrived on the red carpet at precisely 7:42 p.m., flanked behind her by Miranda, also in gold, mirroring her appearance. Cameras and live streams broke as fans realized the magnitude of the encounter. Their backstage meeting was intimate despite the spectacle. Miranda, carrying a manila envelope, explained that the first letter had not been sent merely to protect Gwen, but to prevent Gwen from becoming a mirror of Miranda herself. The postscript about the Vegas charges, however, had been purely Miranda's addition, the only piece of evidence she independently provided. The public expected conflict, but instead, what emerged was solidarity. Photos leaked showing the two women embracing, crying, and the manila envelope prominently placed. Social media shifted from catfights to discussions of women supporting women, warning letters as tools of protection rather than attack.
Everybody at the bar started asking.
TikTok audio of Miranda saying, "We don't compete where we don't compare," went viral, with millions of stitches of women sharing their own warning experiences. The narrative reframed toxic patterns not as isolated celebrity gossip, but as systemic issues affecting anyone navigating relationships with men skilled at masking intention, charm, and control. In the weeks and months that followed, Gwen and Miranda formalized their alliance. They met quarterly, comparing notes and strategizing. They helped 14 women exit relationships that seemed golden from the outside, but were marked by the same manipulative patterns Blake exhibited. They established a fund to cover legal fees for women bound by non-disclosure agreements, creating infrastructure to support those most vulnerable. Through this work, Blake's charm and professional success continued unabated publicly. But privately, the pattern was
10 years ago-ish, and she has been a
documented, analyzed, and exposed. The truth was no longer confined to whispered warnings or gossip. It was a blueprint, notarized and shared, a framework for understanding and resisting manipulation. The larger revelation of this narrative was not about Blake's missteps alone, but the culture that allowed him, and others like him, to operate with near impunity. The letters, initially intended as warnings to a single person, evolved into a system for recognizing and circumventing behavioral patterns of emotional evasion and control. Gwen's role was pivotal. By accepting the warning, she enabled Miranda to stop being a ghost, to convert her own pain into a roadmap for others. This story became a testament to courage, the bravery required to document truth, confront systemic patterns, and transform personal experience into collective empowerment. It raised critical questions. If you have the ability to warn someone, even at the cost of appearing bitter or obsessive, would you speak? How many times do we dismiss women as dramatic when they are merely chronicling patterns no one else wants to see? The letter began abruptly, without preamble or greeting, listing 12 bullet points in all caps on an old-fashioned typewriter. Things Blake does when he's about to leave. At the bottom, scrawled in blue ink, were 3 small words: "You deserve better." Gwen recognized several behaviors immediately. Blake had a habit of leaving whiskey in coffee mugs during morning interviews. Something small but telling. He had spent long nights Googling exes' names. And then there was the Montana ranch he purchased without telling Gwen. A major life decision executed in secrecy. The 10th item on the list, however, prompted immediate tears. He creates a secret contact in his phone, usually a woman's initial, not a mistress, but someone who knows where all the bodies are buried. Gwen remembered the mysterious M that had appeared on Blake's phone during their anniversary dinner in February. He had laughed it off as a manager, but the angle of the phone, the hesitation, suggested concealment. That night, Gwen did the one thing she had vowed never to do. She scrolled through his contacts. Mandy Moore. Not the actress, but a consultant from Blake's God's Country video shoot in Vegas. 2019, the postscript instructed Gwen to check MGM grand charges from March 17th. Digging into Blake's email, she found a $3,200 charge
We got it the first time.
on his American Express. Listed as a work expense, no receipt attached. Calling the hotel, she confirmed Mandy's presence, but not for a video consultation, as the charge suggested. She confronted Blake over the phone. Silence. His lack of denial was deafening. He did not dispute the evidence, instead offering only partial truths, explanations half-given and heavy with avoidance. Gwen realized she was facing not just personal betrayal, but the architecture of a pattern, carefully constructed over years. By dawn, she called the wedding planner, asking to postpone the ceremony. Vendors were canceled, and for 24 hours, the anticipated high-profile wedding of 2021 was off. Blake didn't argue. His response was quiet. "I'm in the main house when you're ready." Over whispered conversations and coffee, Gwen and Blake navigated fragile truths. He admitted to the existence of patterns without offering specifics, acknowledging Miranda Lambert's observations as accurate, though filtered through her own anger. When asked about the Vegas charge, he confirmed it. When asked about Mandy Moore, he laughed, claiming he barely remembered her. By mid-afternoon, the wedding was reinstated. But the energy was different. It had shifted from fairy tale to treaty, a delicate balance of acknowledgement and reconciliation. Gwen's curiosity and resolve did not end at the ceremony. She hired a forensic accountant to dissect Blake's spending patterns. Over 4 years, she discovered nearly $40,000 spent on video consults, location scouting, and creative retreats. All professional, all involving women. While nothing indicated infidelity, The timing revealed a pattern. Expenditures often coincided with major milestones in Miranda Lambert's career. Album releases, tour announcements, public appearances. Blake was consistently absent during these events. These were not romantic missteps. They were exit strategies, prearranged, meticulously maintained. His phone reflected this system. M for Mandy Moore, A for the ACM production assistant, K for the keyboardist, R for a real estate agent, all non-romantic contacts that functioned as backup plans. Gwen understood the pattern was systemic, an escape infrastructure built over years of charm and emotional evasion. Meanwhile, Miranda had been observing from afar. For years, she tracked behaviors like Blake's, sending subtle, anonymous warnings to women within his orbit. Public perception branded her bitter or obsessive, but her intent was protective. When Gwen made cryptic remarks in a Vogue interview about property purchases, Miranda's commentary surfaced online, igniting debate. Older women recognized the patterns. Younger fans criticized interference. Social media erupted, moving the discussion from celebrity gossip to broader questions about accountability, truth-telling, and the habitual dismissal of women's perception as drama. In October 2024, Gwen took the courageous step of reaching out to Miranda. "I'm presenting. Wear something gold. Let's give them something to talk about." Miranda's reply was a single word: "Finally." That night, at the CMAs, Gwen arrived on the red carpet at precisely 7:42 p.m. Behind her stepped Miranda, mirroring her appearance in gold. Cameras flashed, live streams crashed, and social media exploded. Backstage, Miranda revealed that her initial letter had not merely been a protective measure for Gwen, it had been a warning against becoming like Miranda herself. The bullet points were compiled after years of reflection, therapy, and introspection. They included observations that stemmed from warnings Miranda herself had dismissed years prior regarding Blake's high school ex, Lisa, who tragically passed in 2019. The first letter had been partially Blake's idea. He had called Miranda drunk, admitting fear that he would repeat his mistakes, asking her to be brutally honest. Miranda transformed that confession into a warning, a blueprint for action that Gwen could follow. The postscript regarding the Vegas charges was entirely Miranda's addition, the one element outside Blake's input. While the public expected conflict, the interaction produced solidarity. Photos leaked, showing the two women embracing backstage, the manila envelope in plain view. Social media narratives shifted from rivalry to sisterhood. TikTok exploded with Miranda's audio, "We don't compete where we don't compare," as thousands shared personal warning letters and experiences of manipulation. It became clear that these patterns were not celebrity-specific, but systemic, embedded in industries where men wield charm and power with strategic discretion. The story illuminates larger societal truths. The letters were not just about Blake. They were about systemic behavior, about accountability, and about the courage to speak when others might dismiss truth as bitterness or obsession. It asked fundamental questions. If you had the power to warn someone, would you, even if it made you look dramatic or controlling? How often are women dismissed for documenting truths that no one else wants to see? Miranda and Gwen's work reframed these questions, showing that bravery can be quiet, methodical, and profound, reshaping lives beyond the immediate actors. Through their collaboration, patterns were no longer hidden. The network of behaviors, escape routes, prearranged absences, and backup contacts was exposed, offering clarity and protection for future women in similar circumstances. Gwen and Miranda's alliance illustrated a radical shift, from silence and passive endurance to organized, intentional empowerment. Their actions demonstrated that documenting, understanding, and responding to behavioral patterns can transcend gossip, becoming a tool for collective awareness and social change. Blake's charisma persisted publicly, yet privately. The system he embodied could no longer operate unchecked. In the end, The narrative of Miranda Lambert's letters, Gwen Stefani's choices, and Blake Shelton's behavioral patterns transcends the boundaries of celebrity culture. It becomes a lesson in vigilance, accountability, and solidarity, illustrating that empowerment arises not from public confrontation, but from carefully orchestrated acts of honesty, foresight, and courage. The letters, the warnings, the alliances, they serve as lighthouses for those navigating the treacherous waters of emotional manipulation. Gwen and Miranda's collaboration continues, evolving into a framework that educates, protects, and empowers women while exposing the mechanisms of charm and control that operate silently behind public facades. It is a story of transformation, showing how private courage can ripple outward, affecting many lives, and highlighting the extraordinary power of women documenting truth, choosing solidarity, and refusing to let patterns of manipulation remain invisible.